All right, pre-show shenanigans. Grant, I don't know if you know what today is, but today marks a very important day in American
Many
history
things have happened
and
today. There's
and
two ways you can
in
go with this.
well, today marks a very important day in American history and
I think I know
also
where
in
you're
in
gonna go.
global history. Um, Grant, today
Can
is
we start with the minor one? I'm not even sure if you know the minor one I'm referencing right now. I know the major one. If what you're about to say isn't the major one in my head, you have failed at this pre-show. But I'm gonna start us off with a minor one. What happened also 8 years ago today, but
also
not the
a,
major one.
but not
But
the main one. Okay.
8 years ago today, Everett, asses were in the jackpot. The famous clip of Noah Syndergaard throwing behind the Dodgers the year after Chase Utley slid and took out Ruben Tejada, essentially ended his career. Chase Utley slid through second, took out Tejada, out for the year, season career done after that injury, took out his whole leg, absolutely ruined his career. Next season, Mets play the Dodgers. Pretty sure had to have been the first game of the series. If not, it was Syndergaard's start. Throws behind whoever was leading off. It wasn't even Utley leading off. I'm not even sure if Utley was starting that game, but throws behind us and immediately home plate umpire ejects Syndergaard first pitch of the game for throwing behind him. And it's one of the greatest freakouts in MLB history, one of the greatest rants of all time with their manager, Terry Collins. Uh, it's a famous clip. You've definitely seen it where he's like,
Oh no,
"Talk to
I
me,
know
Terry.
exactly what you're
Talk to
talking
me,
about.
Terry. Get
I
it
know
out, Terry.
exactly what you're
Get it all
talking
out."
about.
And when I just rewatch that clip, even as a Dodger fan, it's against us. Like Chase Utley did end a player's career. The MLB did nothing, absolutely nothing to punish Utley or the Dodgers at all for sliding through second. And hey, sometimes when that happens in baseball, you got to govern the sport on your own. Sometimes you got to throw at guys, let them know you're not going to stand for that shit. And like, I'll be honest, I personally am more on the side of, it shouldn't have thrown Cindy out of that game. I think, what? Throw behind us once, maybe he'll plunk a guy or two later in the game. Fine, so be it.
Yeah, then
But
let's let everybody charge and let's just let the boys fight it out. But
no, yeah. I
um
just that was the first
the
one.
uh
But I
the
know
bigger
what you're
the
referencing.
bigger uh
Crazy
moment
they
in
were both eight
history.
years ago today. Crazy.
Today marks the 8-year anniversary of Harambe's death, Grant.
Our sweet king, our sweet prince. Um, all right, this may be a
He
hot take.
changed the world
This may
forever.
be a hot take. This may be a hot take. But whenever I see somebody like get into a random zoo like attraction, like Fallen or something, I'm rooting for the animal. Maybe it's an unpopular opinion. Maybe it's an unpopular take. But I am personally rooting for that
I
animal.
mean, yeah, look, I don't want somebody to die, but
No, no,
also
no, 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 no.
if you are able to fall into the animal exhibit,
Which I'm sure there are many
the
warnings and
animal should
caution
not
signs up
be
that you should never even be in an area to
the
fall into
animals
the
should not be at fault
held
for you being
liable.
there.
Yeah,
Should
yeah,
not
yeah.
happen. Especially by the
There's
way,
a
if that
reason they're encaged and closed in. Okay, there's a
especially
reason.
if that animal, by the way, did
Is
nothing
Harambe,
wrong. It did nothing wrong.
especially if it's Harambe. Okay, many things that we got to discuss here, but simply put, I am rooting for the animals in those instances. Like this going back to Shamu, I'm Team Shamu, 100%.
Well, Shamu was in the wrong there. Shamu did
I thought
fucking
we went
kill
over
people.
this. I thought
Shamu
Shamu was
did kill
clean.
people.
I,
Shamu did kill people.
you
We've
know,
been over this.
it's up,
She
it's
did.
up for debate. Okay, the verdict is still not out yet, so I do a little more
I think it's
investigation.
been settled.
No,
I
no,
think that
no,
that
no,
was
no, no, no.
settled years ago.
You see, I think this is where the disconnect is. I'm waiting for me to focus.
So let's go. Hey,
Wow.
if you guys haven't seen, let me get my thumbs up like
Yeah.
stuff
No.
going. Like, am
Do
I
the
gonna get
heart
those?
again. Do the heart.
Yeah,
Do the
let
heart.
me see if I can get the emojis
It
going.
should show up.
Um, it did not. But if you guys haven't, look, we talked about Shamu before. You guys can go see that clip. There's a clip on YouTube and there's a clip on TikTok where Grant quite literally goes, "Shamu fucking killed people."
I just
Yeah, Shamu killed people.
I I'm reading it right now. Shamu was the first known intentional live capture of a healthy orca. Okay. the 3 previous orca captures, respectively Wanda, Moby Doll, and Namu, they were unintentional and opportunistic. So
how does something happen non-intentionally with an orca
we have
whale?
a lot of questions and we don't have the answers, Everett. But the quote, very young 14-foot, 2,000-pound orca Shamu was captured by
Ray,
Ted
I'm gonna be
Clearfield.
honest. Do you remember how we got onto the topic of Shamu when
Nope.
we
Not
talked
at
about
all.
it that day?
Not at all.
I legitimately have zero idea of how we got there. Was that a space episode?
All right. It has been confirmed Shamu never actually killed somebody. There was an instance, April 19th, 1971, where Shamu bit the legs and hips of a SeaWorld employee. Shamu, quote, allegedly, capital A,
Capital
allegedly,
J journalism,
allegedly refused to release the woman until other workers came to the rescue and, quote, once again, allegedly, pried the orca's jaws apart with a pole. Once again, all reports.
Yeah, in the press conference later, Shamu was quoted by saying,
apologized.
Using
Shamu's translator, they were able to find out Shamu was very, very apologetic.
In other news, Shamu's translator was also found guilty of gambling.
Yeah, no,
that was another problem.
Shamu's translator was gambling the house on the 1974 Reds with Pete Rose. Very big problem. Very, very big. But once again, these are all. Well, okay, this is the thing. Shamu was trained to perform with trainers wearing black and white wetsuits that somewhat resembled orcas. This trainer was not wearing the black and white orca wetsuit for this incident. And so, in my opinion, Shamu should not be held liable. That's the trainer's fault. You know, hey, Shamu will not hit you, will not touch you if you're wearing the black and white.
That post-game press conference, wetsuit. Man. Post-game press conference.
No, it says Shamu died 4 months after the incident.
Of natural causes, or is there some conspiracy things going on here?
There's no details about the cause of death, Everett.
There was a
justice for Shamu.
There was a hit called
Justice for Shamu. Yeah, that was under the Nixon administration. I think Nixon axed Shamu. I have no other way around it. I mean, this is just ridiculous. But I mean, you know, today's about our sweet prince. Look, it's not about Shamu. Today's about our sweet prince. And objectively speaking, at the end of the day, our sweet prince should not have been murdered for somebody else's mistake.
Trying to help the person too.
Yeah. If anything, it could have been a sweet little story of, you know, start of Planet of the Apes with Caesar and James.
Yeah, that would be the other problem. If anything, maybe this was a precautionary thing because I believe like the movies were like coming out then. They're like, fuck, we can't risk this happening.
Wait, now that I think about it, Everett, War of the Planet of the Apes, okay? And I'll be honest, I haven't seen it, but I'm pretty sure that's the movie. Either. Pretty sure that's the movie where very little humans in it. At that point, apes had already taken over the world.
Yeah.
That came out the year after Harambe. 2017 is when that movie came out. Oh. Everett, do you think the Planet of the Apes team, whoever EP'd that movie, whatever studio, do you think they called in to the Cincinnati Zoo, said, I need you guys to paint Harambe in the most vicious way possible to market the movie for War of the Planet of the Apes? If Harambe is shown as an aggressive, brutal, well, now you're taking one step further, and I like that even more. They planted that kid in there so they had a reason to first display Harambe's excellence. His strength, speed, power, intelligence, you name it. They first wanted to demonstrate that, but also, you know, now they get the human impact, humans versus apes, of everyone coming to the side of that little kid.
That's taking real world marketing to a whole new level.
I think it was totally a marketing ploy. Everett, that was genius. Probably the greatest takeaway you've ever came up with in your life. It was either that or Anthony Richardson isn't going to be a bust in the NFL, one or the other. Verdict's still out on both of those.
His verdict is still out, but
true
that was not where I thought the pre-show was going. But the pre-show is now turned into the Harambe assassination was a conspiracy.
I like where this is going now because it adds up. War of the Planet of the Apes.
This would have been great. So for anybody listening right now, our next episode is going to be our annual space topic general episode.
We can refer to it as, just the rando episode. I don't know. Maybe it's not even episode 226. Maybe it's a special episode. Who knows? Who knows?
This would have been a great talk. This would have made. This should have been tomorrow's pre-show.
Yeah, Owen, in case you're watching right now, I love you, man. I hope you ate that shit up. But is Zach gonna wrap up the pre-show?
I got an embrace debate to start. Yeah, let's start off.
Perfect. All right, sounds good. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Warboy Podcast. Today is episode 225. The Celtics have swept the Pacers in probably the easiest road to the NBA Finals of all time. The Mavs might be sweeping T-Wolves tonight. Stay tuned. We'll find that out. The Dodgers are on a 5-game losing streak for the first time since 2019. But to all my Dodgers fans listening right now, at least we're not the Atlanta Braves. Acuna's out for the season with a torn ACL. And they only have 2 players on their team with over a 720 OPS. So it can be much worse for us. Okay. Go look up what Michael Harris is doing this year and Matt Olson. I don't think you'll be that mad at our team after you see what they're doing this year. But yeah, packed episode today. Should be an exciting week. Next episode out should be very fun. But Everett, let's start us off with an embrace debate. What do we need to embrace?
So, Grant, over his 6 years of enrollment at Hogwarts, Harry Potter only played in 9 Quidditch matches for Gryffindor.
Time for a secret debate. All right, let's do it.
This was due to a combination of injuries, suspensions, cancellations, and the school being destroyed by Voldemort. In that time, he compiled an overall record. He compiled an overall record of 7-2. Who is the NBA version of Harry Potter, Grant?
So, okay. 7-2. Do we know how many
7-2?
Do we know what his playoff record was at Hogwarts? And I'm talking only in-house.
I don't know if they ever made the playoffs. Now,
I'll be honest. I was leaning more so on the side that all 4 schools would automatically make the playoffs, or else it's kind of just a championship game between 2 teams, if that makes sense.
Almost sounds like the BCS championship game.
It sounds to me, though, if we were going to compare Harry Potter to an NBA player, it's like a really, really hyped up player. Didn't actually play too much. It might be Zion.
I was gonna say the only other thing was I saw another post that said Harry Potter's only learned 4 spells in 6 years at Hogwarts, and the comparison was Pascal Siakam.
Is that what? Are we sure about that? Because I can probably list 8 spells he learned in the first movie right now. Wingardium Leviosa.
How many does he consistently use?
Expecto Patronum. That's like
Expelliarmus.
100%. He learned Avada Kedavra. He did.
You convinced?
He did. No, he did. Final scene against Voldemort. That's an Avada Kedavra right there. How else could he get? But yeah.
Anyways, NBA version of Harry Potter. So no championships, consistently injured and or suspended. Probably for the cancellation aspects of things, we're gonna have to say he was playing through COVID. And a positive win record, 7-2.
Okay, I want to stick.
It has to be a role player, though. It has to be a role player because Harry was a seeker.
It may be T-Mac. It may be Tracy McGrady. If we're just going off of injury, specifically no rings, it might be T-Mac. I don't think that's the worst one.
I was going to say BI.
Yeah, I'm looking up T-Mac. T-Mac literally not once in his career did he ever play an entire
What about
season.
LaMelo Ball? Ja Morant was
Huh.
suspended a couple times.
I was gonna say Greg Oden because like there's gotta be some chosen one factor in there. There's gotta be a little like you're the chosen one factor in there. So I think Zion might be the best comparison you could give. But like, how about like now this is a name I'm not even sure if you're familiar. Brandon Roy. Do you know Brandon Roy? Used to play for
Oh,
the
you know
Blazers.
who it is? It's Linsanity.
Is it though?
I mean,
Jeremy has a ring. Never take away that Raptors ring from Jeremy Lin. Never ever take that away from him.
yeah, it might be Zion. It might be
I
Zion.
think it's Zion. I think it's Zion because you got to combine hype factor.
There's your thumbnail, by the way, is Zion and Harry Potter next to each other.
Yeah, Harry Potter is the Zion. Now, when you brought up Harry Potter, my first thought was Victor Krum, the undisputed GOAT, the Bulgarian legend, seeker for the Bulgarian national team in episode 4 when they're doing the Quidditch World Cup.
Yeah, no, that's Ronaldo.
No, that's Messi. He's Messi.
He's Messi
because he has a World Cup. He's Messi.
Got him.
He's
got
Messi.
him. Got him there.
He's Messi. Yeah, 100%. 100%. Like I feel like actually probably a better way to classify it is if I were to give some college football or basketball comparison for Harry Potter, because I'm trying to think of a 4-year time frame, like a campus legend. You know what? That's actually not very bad considering the lack of professional career, the potential at the time. Remember, Terrell Pryor was a 5-star recruit in basketball and football. To this day, Terrell Pryor says if Duke offered him in basketball, he would have played basketball, but they never offered. So thank you, Coach K. Thank you. I can never say Coach K didn't help out Ohio State football because he did. So, and at the time, Terrell Pryor, imagine this, Everett. You know who his top 2 schools came down to? Ohio State and the other. Do you know what the other school was? Michigan. My dad was explaining to me that for his recruitment, that was so make or break because if we didn't get him, then Michigan did. And that Terrell Pryor recruitment's one of the craziest stories in Ohio State history. Them getting Terrell Pryor was...
Yeah, the bagman was present.
The bagman was certainly present, but from what I've heard about bagman stories back then, the Ohio State bagman may have been giving you like $10K. The Ole Miss bagman was giving you an easy 100, 200. So slightly different bagmen.
What was the dude's name from The Blind Side?
Michael Orr.
Yeah, no, the bagman was definitely present there when he was not displayed. They were not displaying him in the movie.
I forget. Well, I'm pretty sure that actually in that movie they have another SC school. They have a bagman. I'm pretty sure. I'll double check.
But I think there's a bagman in the movie?
No, I think they have a scene where it's Sandra Bullock, Michael Orr sitting down with some coach. They're offering money, and Sandra Bullock's like, "That's not how we do it here. We're not gonna play for your school if you pay it." I'm pretty sure that's in the movie. I think it was Mississippi State who they outed. Very vintage Ole Miss. Let's just out Mississippi State. And then 3 years later, Ole Miss was by far the largest culprits ever of paying players under the table, getting Tunzel, Treadwell, and Kemdichi to come. Like, if anyone can look at that and be like, "Oh, they just wanted to play for Ole Miss, hotty toddy." Like, dude, what? Like, how do you get 3 5-stars to go to Ole Miss 2013? Get out of here. Get out of here. So I don't want to hear that shit. But yeah, don't tell me Hugh Freeze was good enough to attract them. Get out of here with that bullshit. So yeah. You know what? While we're on the topic of college football, we can kind of stay on this. I'll save the more juicy one for after. But Everett, some initial college football betting lines have already dropped. Okay, not all of them, not every single game, but some initial ones are out there. I'm specifically referencing what's on DraftKings right now. So we're not a DK partner, but shit, we're basing off of those odds.
We can now.
So I got USC's point totals, which I was just very interested in. But Everett, I want you to guess Ohio State right now. I want you to guess who is the only opponent that is favored to beat Ohio State this year.
Michigan.
Ohio State is currently a 10-point
Maybe
favorite
it's
against
Penn
Michigan.
State.
Ohio State's a 3-point favorite against Penn State.
I'm trying to think who else you guys play.
It's a game I've been referencing a lot over the past couple months.
There's a lot of games you've been referencing, and you guys don't play like Georgia or anything. So
that's 2028 and 9.
Couldn't tell you. I don't know your schedule.
The Oregon Ducks are the only team currently favored to beat Ohio State. That will be happening around week 5, 6.
I mean, I will be honest. Like
Oregon
has the ability to be the best team in college football this year. So
I think Oregon right now, best quarterback in the Big Ten, Dylan Gabriel. Don't think any hot take there. Don't think I'm saying anything controversial.
It's not Drew Aller, so
I think we can
actually no. You are. Miller Moss is the best quarterback in the Big Ten.
Okay. I will say though, I've been seeing a lot of, this is just a fun part. I love college football rivalries on Twitter. Absolutely love seeing the different beefs. And this season, we are now getting a Pac-12 influx into these Big Ten conversations. So now we got USC, UCLA, Oregon, Washington fans coming in. And for the most part, it appears as if Ohio State and Oregon fans are partnering up, and Michigan and USC fans are partnering up, which I just find hilarious. Now, of course, this upcoming season, Oregon and Ohio State play each other, USC and Michigan play each other, but ironically, the fan bases are partnering up. Very funny. But I would say I do love when I see Ohio State fan accounts non-biasedly throwing Miller Moss top 3 for quarterbacks already.
That's what we like to see.
I like seeing that because
that's what we like to see.
Like when I see Ohio State fans throwing like Will Howard at 2 or 3, you're too biased. I can't even look at you anymore. I can't even look at you anymore. Like if I don't think Drew Aller is amazing, but if you're gonna tell me like Drew Aller is better than Will Howard, or other way around, Will Howard's better than Drew Aller, it's like off of what? Like, and their reasoning will be, well, it's the Ohio State quarterback. Why don't you fucking believe in your quarterback? It's like, that's not a reason. Do I want Will Howard to play better than Drew Aller? Yes. Am I going to say that he's better than him today? No. It's two different things. It's different things. Trust me. I want
but
Will
he
Howard
is
to be
6'8".
amazing.
He is 6'8" now.
Oh no, he's a big guy, big boy. But I do like seeing some Ohio State fans coming around to Miller Moss. But Oregon, I think they're set really nice. And they also, one of my favorite pickups of the offseason, kind of went under the radar, didn't get as big of attention because it happened so quickly. But Evan Stewart, former 5-star receiver out of A&M, he transferred to Oregon. I think Evan Stewart can be dangerous. I think he's way better than Troy Franklin, just as a player. Let's start there. And I think he has potential to make a push for being a top 5 wide receiver drafted after the season. I think Oregon, they got a lot of weapons.
No, they do. Like the ability that they had to reload when they lost, like last year, you were asking people to name people from Oregon's team. You probably can name Bucky Irvin. Probably can name Troy Franklin. You
Definitely
probably can name Bo Nix. Right? If you were a little bit more locked in with football, you probably know JPJ. Right? But
yeah. And on defense, they had dogs all over. Corners all over the place.
I mean, Kyrie Jackson, whatever. But like, you don't know as much of the names of the guys on defense. Like people, I think the average football fan probably knows offensive names, but just in general better than defense. But like the bigger point being like the reload that they need on offense, like the name guys that they had on offense, they replaced, and they were like, they have other guys that they were able to basically reload with, and that's impressive.
Yeah, no,
like even Ohio State, by the way, even Ohio State couldn't reload after last year, couldn't reload after 2 years ago.
Well, they did get Caleb Downs and Quinshon Judkins.
But I'm more so saying like offensively, like name guys. Like, yeah, you got Jeremiah Smith, but like compared to what you were at 2 years ago, like that's different.
I'll just be honest. Like, this is one thing I'd say. Oregon, in terms of their depth at receiver, it is very good. Don't get me wrong. They are pretty deep, but it's not quite the same priority for them all season to go target weapons
No.
It's a way
I know,
different.
but the point being like
Like
look,
in the
Ohio
offseason,
State,
Ohio State, they were like clearing house. They're like, Fleming, get the fuck out.
no, yeah.
Like,
The point was just like, look, 3 years ago, you had Marv, you had Garrett, you had JSN, you had Olave, right? And when you started losing them, the talent leaving was not being replaced with the same kind of level of talent.
well,
At least in the
I would push back saying like, JSN was pretty damn good.
Not saying he wasn't. I'm not saying he wasn't, but I'm saying they were
Egbuka
there
disappointing
already.
last year, but he did have ankle surgery like week 3. It wasn't the same. But like another point though, because ultimately, yes, you are correct, but it's also like it is Marv. I'm not sure if we'll ever have a player as good as Marv ever again.
Well, you hope
like,
Jeremiah Smith can do
I hope.
that.
I hope, but I'll just be the bar is so high with Marvin Harrison Jr. It's like I don't expect any player to ever come close to how great Marv was. If Jeremiah Smith can be 90% as Marv max potential, that's a W. Major.
Doesn't Marv have a brother as well?
Jet Harrison. Pretty sure he's
supposed to be
6'3".
pretty good. He's supposed to be pretty good, isn't he?
I think he's in like 7th grade. Yeah. I'm
pretty sure a receiver too?
Gotta be. I don't know, but he's gotta be. I'm pretty sure Heartline already offered.
I mean, you would assume like the kid's probably always around there.
But I just remember Marv Sr. was talking about like, yeah, you should see what Jet's doing now. Like in that Heisman press conference that we were referencing last episode, pretty sure Marv Sr. on there's like, tell him about Jet. And he's like, yeah, he's way better than I was at that age.
Fuck. That's being a good older brother, though. Not every older brother be like, yeah, no, my younger brother definitely better than me. Some older brothers be like, fuck you.
For the most part, you don't hear that. I will never forget Joey Bosa was admitting, like Nick Bosa's coming out of college. Joey Bosa admitting, like, yeah, I'll be on. Or no. It was an NFL top 100 list within the past 2 years. Okay, so they're already in the league, and Joey's like, yeah, for a while I would compete with Nick, but I'm just happy he's doing what he's doing, and I'm just happy I'm still here. Like Joey has accepted Nick is better than him. I absolutely love it. But like, yeah, no, it's cool seeing those brother relationships in the NBA, seeing some like father-son relationships. Well, I'll stay on this real quick before we get to this revenue sharing thing. A conspiracy I never quite realized, but I've been made aware of. Marcus and Markieff Morris. Now they both went to Kansas, I believe or so. Kentucky. I forget which one. I think it was.
Kansas, that's a Perry question. Unfortunately, I cannot ask him now.
Yeah, but they're both twins. Grew up together, and there was a rumor that their senior year of high school, whoever was having a hot game, like they were very hit or miss. One of them will have 30 points at halftime. The other will have 0 points. And then in the second half, it would flip. And the guy who had 0 would get hot, and the guy who had 30 would get cold. And there was a rumor that at halftime, they would switch jerseys to keep both of their stocks high. So,
I mean, I'm going to be honest, that makes sense. Like that, 100%. It makes sense.
You literally could not tell, like physically, you could not tell the difference between them other than their jersey number. That's the only way you could tell them apart. And if I were to guess, knowing their careers in the NBA, Marcus Morris is better than Markieff Morris. It sounds to me like Marcus Morris would have 30 at halftime. He'd be like, all right, Markieff, I'll help you out. I'll wear your jersey. I'll go drop 20 as
now. Were they doing the same thing in college? Is the next question.
No, yeah, that's where you take it one step further. And honestly, I think, yes, I'm pretty sure they went pick right next to each other.
Like, I feel like every
I think Marcus Morris may be just the greatest brother ever. I'm assuming Marcus Morris.
I feel like every twin's dream is to like pull a fast one on like their teachers or somebody, like switch, right? Like that's every twin's dream.
Mm-hmm.
They just took it to a whole new level.
Yeah. I've also heard a theory of it was, I don't know, some TikTok, and it's just this like mom with like twins who are like 6 months old, and she's like, I'll be honest, one day, for a while I was tracking them, putting them in different clothes, and one day I accidentally put them in the same outfit and I had no idea which one was which, and I've just continued saying this one is Zach and the other is Ethan or whatever the hell. Like, I have no idea if they're actually the right ones, but we're just going with
it. We're going with it. They've accepted it. We're going with it.
Could you imagine that though? Just you're 8 months old. They are literally identical. You have no way of telling them apart, and it's just like screw it. Which one's Grant? Which one's
Can you
Everett?
imagine waking up one morning and you're just tired and you're like going through the motion to do it, and then you really like sometimes when you're like, did I brush my teeth this morning? Like, did I do that? And you like definitely did, but you're like, let me do it again.
Yeah.
And you're sitting there, you're like, wait a second, did I accidentally put them in the wrong? Fuck.
I put them
did
in
I
the exact
switch them?
same outfit, and I do not know which one's which. They can't speak. They can't tell me which.
We're just rolling with
uh,
this. Can you imagine though, like 25 years later, you like actually learn like, yeah, so Jason, you're actually Zachary, and Zachary, you're actually Jason. You're like, oh fuck, our social securities are so screwed.
yeah, I feel like there's
My credit score, fuck.
problems there. Having twins, but you know what? Enough of the twin debate. Time to get on more cultural. Okay, Everett. Starting not this season, next season. Quote: universities and conferences are allowed to directly pay players through revenue sharing. Now I've tried to gather information on this, but there have been some conflicting opinions overall. Most of the times when I find something, they're primarily discussing the reparations that will be paid for the past decade plus. So former players playing under the NCAA who are either currently pro athletes or retired completely, they're going to be repaid first. And from what I've seen, it's not much repayment. Looks like the NCAA is giving each university $20 million to
something like that. I'm not entirely sure. There's a lot of universities
there.
So there's a lot of universities though.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm thinking. Like, I don't think that was just D1. Shit, how many registered college departments are there in NCAA? 20 million each. That's not cheap.
I mean, there's at least 130 D1,
that's for D1, yeah. But I think they extended it to D2, D3. I don't know.
Probably.
But
probably. But I don't. The whole D2, like D3 or D2, one of those two can't pay, cannot like provide scholarships to players. So like, I doubt it's going all the way down.
I believe it's 3.
But look, you and I talked about this a little bit earlier. And I've been very vocal on this podcast about one, wanting to get players paid, but two, wanting it to happen in a way that doesn't destroy like competitiveness and just the NCAA in general. And I think schools paying players, it's not gonna like, they're not gonna do it the proper way. The proper way to do it is one, having them be employees of the university, and two, have it be a hourly kind of like the same way that they would pay me or a student or another student worker, right? That'd be working for football. Like I was making X amount per hour that I work,
per hour,
right?
Yeah,
per hour. So for me, I'm assuming that they obviously like, let's say I was making, I'm not going to say how much I was actually making, but let's say I was making $12.
You were making, okay.
Let's say I was making $5 an hour, right? Let's say I was making
fun. Let's say you're making $5K an hour.
Yeah, let's say I was making $5,000 an hour, right? My expectation is that they would be making $10,000 an hour. So they'd be making more than me in general. If I was making 5, they'd make 9.
You could probably scale it. Your starting quarterbacks can.
Yeah. So like the starting quarterback would make like 19 or 18. The next player would make 15. Like the normal kids that are just there would make like 12, right? Some shit like that. And like the point being, if they did it in that capacity, it was like, look, we're going to pay you for every hour you're in the facility. When you come in, clock in. You good there?
I'll be honest. It seems like Teoscar Hernandez should have just had a home run. He hit a ball. It went into the center fielder's glove, popped out, hit over the wall. I think that should be a home run.
That's a double.
I think that should be a home run.
I think that's considered a infield or not infield. Whatever the fuck it's called. Anyways,
keep going. I'll watch this.
Yeah, no. So like, I feel like if you worked it that way, where they're designated student workers, they clock in whenever they come in, they do whatever they're doing, they'll get paid per hour, and then they leave. That works better because instead of a salary cap or some shit, they're counted as employees.
Yeah,
right?
No, I agree with you.
But if you do a salary
base
cap,
salary of X
if you do a base salary cap, then you run into the problem with 1, how much can schools afford? 2, because now also like they're going to be counted against other student workers, other students that would be having jobs, et cetera, because the schools only have X amount of budget for that kind of stuff, right? So if you're counting salary cap, and now, like, let's compare Tulane to an Alabama, right? And Alabama is going to have way more money than Tulane will, so they can have let's say a $2 billion salary cap.
Well, yes, but they're gonna establish it so it's a set max for everyone. So,
but that's
maybe
the problem is you
Alabama
can't have
can
a universal. But you can't have a universal set max without having aid provided to certain universities, because I promise you, a school like
it could be by conference too,
or Akron or Kennesaw or something like that.
Yeah, no, they wouldn't.
Their budget is not going to be comparable. And even if we get into the more competitive schools,
no, 100%. This isn't gonna be fair.
But like that's the problem. Is if you change it from if you were to do an hourly wage, something that's set by the university that they're paying these student athletes, compared to what a salary cap is, those are two different things. Because one, if you're like, hey, my salary cap is $200 million, that's going to be used in part of the negotiation process, which is the whole problem that we talked about before with NIL, is having it basically be like a bidding war. So now if you go with the salary cap, you're saying like, hey, we'll pay you $1 million a year from the university to be here, or we'll pay you $20K a month to be here, right? I know this is an example, but like that's comparatively different than if you're just like, look, you're going to come either way. It's going to be set. If you're a quarterback or starting, you're going to get this amount. You can get a raise X amount, right? Like it's different if per state you're following, like in California, right? Like California, I think minimum wage is like $15, right? In Louisiana, like for student workers and stuff, it's like 10. So, like if you were just to follow the general minimum wage that normal student workers are getting, and that's just kind of automatically what's applied to you, regardless of the school you go to or like whatever's going on, that completely changes it. Because now, instead of it being a bidding war, instead of it being like a motivative factor to be like, I want to go to this school because they're going to be able to pay me more because they're just worth more, right? Like that's different, because every athlete wants to get paid. Every athlete wants to get paid, regardless of they all should be paid. But the difference is like, if you are using money through a school as like I'm going to give you $5 million, I'm going to give this other player $2 million, and also like that could leave other players not getting paid at all. Like they could just be there, and that's a whole nother problem.
Yeah.
So if we change that to, we're just going to have every player make a baseline of $11 an hour or whatever, per whatever your state regulations are, and we'll increase it, decrease it based on your playing time. That's a huge difference, because it's not going to be a part of the conversations, because it automatically is just already established. And you don't have to be like, hey, we're going to give you X amount. Like they're going to still be NIL and stuff, but you don't have to be like, hey, we're going to give you this as part of a bidding war. There's no more bidding wars if it's just every school automatically pays these players X amount as a fixed wage.
Well, like, there's still gonna be bidding wars.
There's still a bidding war, but it's completely different than, hey, we have this amount of NIL, and then additionally we have a $500 million salary cap for our school. Like there's 100%. A difference there. There's a very big difference.
NIL just moves instead of, I don't know. Well, now, NIL instead of these major alumni investors, you name it, just giving to NIL, they could just, screw it, I'm just going to give directly to the athletic department.
Well, no, I feel like that's probably more of the long-term goal, is they're hoping that this establishes more like money for the athletic departments instead of going through an NIL collective. It probably creates a little bit more stability, because instead of these companies doing all these deals with these players, like it's more internal.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I just got sent to me 5-star wide receiver Jamie French with 2 Fs for French, was previously committed to Alabama, decommitted when Saban left. He's been crystal balled, rumored to go to Ohio State. But he just signed an NIL deal with Lamborghini Austin, Texas. He's not committed to Texas. Yeah, he has signed an NIL deal with them.
But like here's the thing. Let's just look at this from like a grand scheme of things, right?
We just got outbid. We got outbid for Jamie French. Shit, I'll put a finger up.
Let's just look at the grand scheme of things, right? The bigger point of like NIL is, obviously we want student athletes to be able to make money, and that's the opportunity, right? But there's a huge difference in, I guess, the NIL deals that you see pro athletes make versus the ones that you see college athletes make.
No,
And
yeah,
maybe that's like a
I'm
fun,
thinking of
maybe
a
that's
Zion
like
at Duke. Like,
but like
Jordan should have had a deal with
look,
him.
but this
at
is what I'm
that
saying.
time.
Maybe there's a it's like the fun college kind of like difference between pro and college. But like look, like one of the quintessential like deals that I think of when I hear like doing this is RG3's Subway commercial. Like I think of RG3 and Subway, $5 foot long, right? Anytime, anywhere. But like that's way different than Lamborghini. Like you don't see Patrick Mahomes going and have a deal with Lamborghini. So like the objective of these NIL deals are supposed to be obviously want student athletes to make money, but they're also supposed to be used in like more of a professional manner. Like you're expecting those other kind of companies that pro athletes would make deals with rather than like
it was more so for the established players.
right.
You should be able to capitalize.
But now it's in a different realm where you're seeing these players.
Yeah, no,
like,
now
I'm doing a deal with Lamborghini.
I
I'm doing a deal with Mercedes. I'm like deals that typically wouldn't be otherwise if you were actually a pro athlete.
Oh, no, 100%.
Which is what the weird
100%.
part thing is. And additionally, on top of that, like we're getting into all this other stuff, right? And I think the hope is that it moves from NIL to just the NIL is a part of the actual athletic building.
Well, now they can act together.
Well, I know that's the point. That's the point. And it can be basically the discretion of the athletic department and where the money is going to go.
Yeah, I'm interested though. Like moving forward, like if students are considered employees, I guess they would like legally be allowed to, I don't know, lower your salary or whatnot based off.
Well, so here's the deal. This is the deal. Is one, you can't lower it, but like when you sign an agreement that like you go into.
I know there's like state laws. You can't like
right state laws. You can't like minimum rate. So
or whatever.
So like you're gonna automatically have a base level, and then it's gonna increase or decrease based on your position on the team. Like that's the way that I think it should go because that one ensures that these lower tier players are going to get paid. These walk-ons or depth players, whatever, they'll be making their salary either way. Because what's one of the biggest problems that so many athletes and general college students have? Making money and having a job. And there's a lot of athletes out there who need a job to make money. And if you're going to go by salary cap, they're not going to be like, hey, I'm going to give this player 12% of my salary cap, and they're going to keep going. And they're going to be like, I'm sorry, Timmy, look, I know you're the walk-on kicker, but we can't give you anything. Like that becomes a problem for the lower tier players because they're not going to get any money. And the whole objective of all of this is that every player makes something.
Yeah, well, this is why I do think though, like for a time being salary cap, now nothing's been confirmed, but let's say Caleb Williams cost USC like, I don't know, or let's say his NIL deal's told to like 7-8 million last year. I don't know. I'm just guessing. Like, and let's say it's a 200 mil salary cap. Sure, we can go with that, even though that's really fucking high. Let's just go with that. Like, I'm curious how many players right now would demand 10% of the salary cap.
A lot.
Like, I feel like it would be a healthy amount of players, but it's also like
But then it also becomes a positional thing. Then you get into the same thing like the NFL where you're going to be like, hey, we needed a contract negotiation.
One thing I like from that angle is that I think it could be slightly inverted into prioritized positions in college versus NFL. Like in college, running back is way more valuable in college.
That is true, but
this is the other thing. Like
this is the other thing is you get into the problem where but in the NFL you were consistent. One, they'd have to reveal the actual amounts of money that they're paying these players, which is not.
Well, that's one. Well, that's one maybe slight positive is that maybe.
Second of all,
more official.
The NFL, there's consistently players bidding upon each other, right? Like right now, CeeDee Lamb's waiting for Justin Jefferson to get paid, and fucking Jamar Chase is waiting for both of them to get paid because he wants to make more. Right. And when you get into that, one, you're going to consistently need to raise the salary cap, which is not sustainable because multiple colleges will not be able to do that. And on top of that, you're going to box a lot of players out from a lot of universities because they're going to be like, look, I saw that Shedeur Sanders is making 20% of the salary cap. I want 25 if I'm going to stay here. And when they say no, they're going to go in the portal.
Well, but the thing is there any school that would give them that?
If it's like, this is a hypothetical scenario. I'm not saying it is 25%, but I am saying though, like, let's say Arch Manning decided to transfer, right?
Okay. If that were the case, Cardell on the phone.
But let's say Arch Manning was deciding to transfer. Let's say Caleb Williams was deciding to transfer from USC, right? He would look at whoever is getting the most money and immediately demand more, and then the next player to do it would demand more on top of that. They see precedent, and that creates so much problems. Like, it's not sustainable.
I don't think it'll be that. Like, I don't think any players.
That's where you get. But no, when you get into salary cap stuff, that's the way it always turns out. It's going to consistently. It's going to start low, but there will be a point where it gets.
But it's better than no salary cap.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think there shouldn't be a salary cap. I'm saying, well, let me finish. My whole point is that to pay players, you keep NIL. Do whatever the fuck you want to do with NIL. You know my opinion on NIL.
There was no salary cap, Everett.
But let me finish. Let me finish my point.
Go on.
The whole point is to make money, like have the players make money, to have these student athletes make money. Because of so many other things going on in their lives and the fact that it's harder to get a job and XYZ, right? If the whole objective is having them make money, why are we not having them be wages? Why are we meaning a base salary the same way that a student worker makes money, or the same way that, anybody who else is working in college is making money? Like, not paying them. Like, obviously, different salaries are going to be different amounts of money. Somebody can be making $25 an hour, $28 an hour, right? And I know on top of that, they're going to have NIL. But I'm saying a fixed base salary every single player is making per hour or per month or whatever, and have that be the universal thing, because then there is no disparities between anybody. Obviously, if you're a better player than your wage, you'll get a raise, because that's how jobs work in general. Like, if you're better at your job, you're going to make more money. But if we have a universal, hey, this is going to be the universal baseline, every single player is going to make at least $12 an hour, whatever it is per state guidelines, right? If you have that, then there is no more comparison. There is no more, hey, this school is going to be have a limitation because they can't afford that. That doesn't exist anymore, because of the fact that it's equal everywhere. If that makes sense.
I don't. Yeah, no, doesn't make sense to me there.
So Grant.
Well, this is what I'm thinking. Like, I feel like you're talking about the small man here on the team.
I'm not. I'm talking about all of them. I'm saying, look, those big players, the best players on the team, right? They still are going to have NIL. They're still going to have their NIL deals, even with the salary cap shit. The NIL deals are not encapsulated in that right now. Like, we also don't know which way it's going to go. But as of right now, they're not, right? So they're still making the NIL deals. So if they're still making the NIL deals, they're still going to make, let's say, Caleb Williams, for reference. Okay, Caleb Williams made $8 million whatever off of NIL. So he still has his $8 million he's making off of that NIL, right?
Yeah, I see what you're saying now. Yeah.
But now he's going to have, on top of that, he's going to have, let's say, the base salary for USC's team is $15 an hour for the base player, right?
Okay, sure.
Let's say his raise for being Caleb Williams is now he makes $10 more. He makes $25 an hour.
Okay.
So he'll have his $8 million plus the $25 per hour separate. That's a fixed wage for him being there. And the difference is he's making $25 an hour, but the walk-on kicker is making at least now $15 an hour. And when you compare that to,
but
when you compare that to like Ole Miss, right? Ole Miss, you'll have Jackson Dart making, I don't know, $4 million in that NIL. And I don't know what the minimum wage is in Mississippi. But let's say it's 12, right? Let's say that walk-on kicker comparatively is making $12 an hour for being on the team in Mississippi, but Jackson Dart is now making 19 or 20, right?
Okay.
Whatever that fucking ratio is. But that's the point, where it's universally, they still have NIL. The better players will still be making their millions of dollars or whatever. But now there's just that fixed wage where every student athlete is at least making money. And the difference is going to be your raise for being a better player and being better at your job.
Okay, help me out here. I feel like you're kind of looking at from the perspective, just like looking at one specific team. Like,
I'm looking at every team.
But from this angle, I'm saying like Ole Miss. Keep on that example, like the kicker of Ole Miss and Jackson Dart. Like, from that kicker's perspective, like with a new salary floor, minimum salary, then it helps him out, which I agree. But where I'm more so getting as like, let's say there is no salary cap. Okay, you got Ohio State, or forget Ohio State. You got Alabama, and then you got Colorado, Dion. Okay, with that salary floor thing. Okay, like I don't necessarily think that helps Colorado compete with Alabama with no salary cap. Alabama
Well,
just
the point being is, I'm not like I'm saying that nobody's gonna pay a student athlete $1,000 an hour or whatever to be an employee to work, right? We're gonna consider it a job to work, right?
sure.
So the point being is that 50, whatever the minimum wage is for, like, this is all hypothetical, right? Like, I don't know what
Okay.
way
Yeah,
they
yeah,
actually would implement it.
Yeah, keep going. Yeah.
But the difference is the NIL and stuff still works. It still exists. There's still going to be that debate between the student athletes and the way that they're going to go about, hey, this school is offering me 6 million NIL
Well,
versus
the loophole you're bringing up to me is now, let's say there's still, that salary cap in place, or there's one. Yeah, I mean, if the NIL is separate, shit, you could take up 100% of your salary cap and then still give 15 million to Caleb Williams on the side.
But here's the deal. With the NIL being separate, right? They're still making that amount of money. Like, the difference being here, and the reason why, like I'm saying, there's no disparity, is because whatever that bottom line is, and I'm assuming the NCAA would set it standardly across the US. Like, that's the point. So whatever, like, they'd be like, okay, you're gonna make $16 an hour just by being a student athlete on the team, or whatever. Like, I don't fucking know. But the point being is those rates as a salary would be standard across all of college football. So now, instead of having this team saying, hey, we have a $6 million budget and we want to give you 200K of that, there's no longer, we're going to do that. You can talk about the NIL all you want, but there's no difference in the actual wage and paying the school, paying the player, if that makes sense. Because the whole point of the salary cap is saying, we now have this amount of money to use, and we can spend it in whichever way we want to. So we could outbid you for this player, right? And instead of that being the motivating
well, if there
factor,
was no salary cap, it's
the
same thing.
The point being, like, there's no bidding. With no salary cap, it's
yes, there is, Everett.
No, can I fit? Like, you're not understanding the whole point.
Yeah, no, I'm
the
not.
whole point. If you want
to
saying
the whole point, then you just bring up like this $12 an hour shit. Whole point, then go.
If you want a salary cap, put the salary cap on the NIL. When you go into the schools paying players, when you're thinking of a salary cap of schools paying players, you're thinking of it.
Sorry, I just got a letter under my door like I'm Harry Potter in the cupboard. But go on.
You're thinking of the salary cap with schools paying players in the idea of this school is going to have a $6 million budget and this one's having a $4 million budget. So we can outbid you because we could pay a player, instead of the $20 fixed wage that you're going to pay him, we could pay him 45, right? My point is that scrap that whole thing entirely. When a school is paying players, the schools are paying players in a fixed X amount. So it is either a 15 to 20, 25, like it's one of those three, depending on what the player is. And that would change, obviously, for the level or the experience of the player, whatever, right? But it's the same thing as if you were working a normal 9 to 5. You're making a normal hourly wage. Like I was making.
Real quick, going back to that last part, you're saying there should also be a maximum amount of hourly wage?
That's the point. That's what the whole point is. I'm saying, like, if you.
So like a minimum 15, maximum 50 now.
Look, like in any job, if you're working a 9 to 5, if you're working whatever I was doing for school, they're never going to pay you more than a certain amount. Like that's just like they never pay me $50 an hour to do what I was doing, right? So that's the point. Is there's still a certain point where, like, that's why I'm saying there's no salary. So if you want to talk about a salary cap, the salary cap would be you can't pay a player more than this amount per hour or whatever. You still have the NIL, but the whole point is to pay players, and if that's the whole point, then it should work like a normal student job, if that makes sense. It shouldn't work like we're paying you 10% of our whole budget.
Okay, now, like, I see what you're saying now with, like, a wage cap. Now I understand. That would, yes, because if there was a limit, then there is a standard I totally level. Get that. Yeah, no,
there's a standard level across football, and there's no comparison.
I will just say though, I do think for now, like if that exact thing you're talking, $50 per hour, that's max. That would overall be a good thing because, for example, Alabama, they can't just go up to every player and be like, "I'll give you all 100 an hour," and they just all go to Bama. You can't do that anymore. So from that angle, I totally with it. What I was a little more confused about was you saying anti-salary cap, and then I was saying, well, then Alabama could have a $2 billion budget, and then Colorado has.
Well, that the whole point is to
budget.
throw the idea of a $2 billion or $2 million budget out the whole window because it's going to be a fixed set of money or whatever per hour, like that.
Well, in a way, that is pretty much
it is a salary cap, but it's not a salary cap in the same notion that you were thinking.
Like, no, yeah, you're talking like an hourly wage maximum.
Yeah, I'm talking about like an actual job, like the way that they would normally. Maybe it's per month. Maybe like you're making $2,000 a month or whatever. Maybe it's something like that.
If you're going by month, you're essentially just going by year. I think by hours is the best way to do it because it still forces the players to work hours. If you don't work certain hours, you don't get that money. Where if you're paid by month, you just get that. So like from that angle, I'm keep it by hour. From that, it still incentivizes players to go in and work.
That's the best way for it to work universally. I was just getting at, like, just say right now, college football players are getting paid. There is no salary cap right now. Like right now, it's the Wild West. Like shit. That Jamie French example, that dude's literally going to Texas because Lamborghini just gave him a deal. You should implement a salary cap on NIL because that would make sense because that gets after the point I previously talked about where I was like, it's a bidding war, right? Like that would be good.
We just got outbid on Jamie French. Sucks.
Yeah, that would be good because it prevents a bidding war. But if you are still not going to cap NIL and then you're going to put a cap on how much a school individually pays, it doesn't do anything.
I'll be honest. Ironically, Brett Beatty almost just pulled a Chase Utley on Mookie Betts, sliding through seconds. Almost took out Mookie on the 8-year anniversary. On the 8-year anniversary, I wonder if he saw that video this morning.
Breaking news. Breaking news. We can move into this segment if we have anything else. The Texans and Nico Collins have reached an agreement on a 3-year, $72 million contract extension.
Now, real quick. First instant thought, I just need to make sure that sounds very, very similar to the Terry McLaurin. So Terry McLaurin got a 3-year 68. Nico got 3 years 72. Now real quick,
72.5 with a max value of 75. It's 52 guaranteed.
Whoa. God, come on, Nico. All right. Now I'm gonna have some fun. I think that might be the highest annual contract value for a Michigan football player in NFL history.
Yeah, Tom Brady never wanted to get paid.
I don't think Tom Brady was ever getting like 25 plus a year.
Maybe on the Bucs. He might have
actually on the Bucs. Actually,
he might have on the Bucs.
I know Rashawn Gary's is high, but I don't think he's getting 24 a year. I don't think he's getting 24. I think on a per year basis, he's the highest paid player in Michigan football history.
Is there any corners or anything? I know not.
I'm pretty sure I saw the other week. Holy shit. I'm blanking on his name. Winfield Jr.'s highest paid DB NFL history. I think he's getting like 22.
Yeah. Oh, really? It was 22.
Yeah. And he's highest paid ever.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Lindor just took Glasnow so unbelievably. So unbelievable. 396 right center. Oh my God, that's awful. Yeah, we're about to get swept in this doubleheader. About to lose 7 straight. But that's amazing for Nico Collins. That's actually nuts. I will say, looking at the optics there, Nico, is he in what, year 3 next year?
I believe this is his 3rd season.
Oh, next year is actually year 4 for him. Wow. But remember, ladies and gentlemen, Nico Collins did not break 500 yards or 2 touchdowns until last season. Remember, folks, even if you're in year 3, the career's not over. I'm looking at you.
Also, remember,
you still got a shot. You still have a chance. You still have a shot, dog.
Also, remember, Davis Mills was his quarterback. So
no. There's many excuses there for him. But Nico Collins. It's very rare for me to have a Michigan player in the NFL that I don't just genuinely hate. And Nico Collins is one of the few that no beef at all with Nico Collins. If CJ wasn't his quarterback, the beef would probably 100% be there. But yeah, no, because of his relationship with Coleridge, I'm on team Nico. That's sick for him.
Do we have anything else for the NFL, by the way?
I guess real quick thing about that, people were kind of projecting it anyway, but I don't expect Diggs to stay there after the season. I honestly, I don't think he'll get traded at the deadline. I think
my expectation, like they wouldn't have got
good.
one.
Yeah, they wouldn't have done it.
Them getting him makes me feel like they don't think that Tank's going to be ready to start the season. And two,
what was his
once
injury
Tank
again?
comes
Like
back,
ankle, hip.
He like blew up his whole leg. Like
it
was like his fibula. He broke his fibula or some shit.
Oh, okay.
But they probably don't feel like he's gonna be ready in time. And then also once obviously if he comes back, then that's a third option that they're gonna have in there. Like Dalton Schultz, Nico Collins, Tank Dell, Stephon, and
crazy
Joe Mixon.
Yeah. And like honestly,
we don't count Damian Pierce, so
yeah, no, I saw a chart the other
day. Cade Stover.
Can't forget Cade. But I did see a chart the other day. Damian Pierce might be the worst running back in NFL history.
No, he might actually be. Like it's bad.
Efficiency wise, he might be
dead
the worst
last
running back in NFL history.
Like
yards per carry
was on the bottom
and
and yards per carry.
Yeah,
was like here, and he was like the worst possible.
Not good.
Worst possible.
Not ideal.
Option.
Not ideal. But yeah, I would say it's kind of the only like little. If Nico Collins didn't sign that extension, I'd brought up the NFL today at all. But yeah, some interesting stuff.
Let's wrap
MLB,
up
before NBA because we got to address not our sweet.
Yeah, let's do the MLB and then let's do
not our king, not a hero, but a polarizing figure in Major League Baseball. Angel Hernandez has officially retired from the MLB. Everett, it's the end of an era. I saw a compilation of Angel Hernandez worst calls. There are so many strike calls that he gives where the ball literally never crosses the plate. Like it is outside when the pitch is released and it never even crossed the plate, and he is giving strike 3 calls. It's absurd. I honestly don't know though. I do not know if he's that bad at umpiring or if he just has so many beefs with players and he just screws them over. I don't know because the calls are so egregiously bad, Everett. I honestly don't know. I don't know if he's doing it on purpose.
That might be a mystery we never find out until
we will
the 60 minutes that he gets when he inevitably runs out of money in like 12 years.
Yeah. I did look it up though. We were going over this. I'm not sure what the umpire fee is in the MLB, but like the average NBA ref is making like $150 a year from the refereeing.
Like
they're all
crazy.
lawyers and doctors on the side.
And Tim Donaghy still decided to gamble on games.
Yeah, no, pulled an e-pay. 150 wasn't enough. Shit, I don't blame you either, Tim. If you got that much power, you should be getting paid more. But I got some fun facts about the MLB.
Okay. All right. I have some for the NBA once you're done with this.
Just some quick MLB fun facts. We're about a third of the way into the season. Here are just some trends. First things first. Offense is way down. The average OPS last season was 734. The average OPS this year, 699. The average player in the MLB has a sub 700 OPS this season. So when we're talking about the Braves, only 2 players over 720 OPS. It's not the worst stat in the world. 720 OPS considered above average this year. But ERA is down from 4.3 last year to 3.97 this season. Yankees best lineup in the MLB. Phillies have the best pitching staff in the MLB. Bobby Witt is an absolute god this year. Kind of came out of nowhere. Gunnar Henderson also absolutely smacking it. And then after last season, where there were a bunch of lefty starters on the market, and Monty, Eduardo Rodriguez, Snell. We're seeing a bit of a lefty revolution. Shota Imanaga for the Cubs, 0.84 ERA. Tariq Skubal in Detroit, 2.2 ERA. Absolutely nasty this year. I think he has a good shot at Cy Young, but just did have an awful start, not going to lie. But yeah, overall, hitting is down. Pitching is improved by nature. But yeah, I guess this is a dead ball season. And I was, thinking about the other day. Seems to me Dodgers, we've been piecing up, hitting pretty well as a team, not going to lie. And the MLB has showed that they have the ability in the past to give one specific team juice balls. Shout out Aaron Judge when he was chasing the home run record when everyone else got dead balls except the Yankees. So the MLB has shown in the past that they are willing to give a specific team juice or dead balls because of what's going on, circumstances. So I actually think there's a good chance that the Dodgers are getting juice balls and no one else is ever.
That's just unfortunate for us because we haven't been able to capitalize on it.
Yeah, we haven't been hitting recently, and maybe that's why our pitchers are getting absolutely shelled right. I don't know. I don't know, but that was the MLB update I had.
Okay, NBA. Not like a whole lot going on, obviously.
Well, we do know one team in the NBA Finals now.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm saying not a whole lot. Like we were kind of expecting the Celtics to be there. Anyways, easiest path that there has been to an NBA Finals, probably since the Golden State Warriors.
I think it might be the easiest. I think it may be the easiest path to any championship ever. Wow, they did not play anybody. I'm trying to think of something else. I'm trying my best over here.
I am too. But obviously the Wolves play tonight when we're recording this. We'll know if they're still in the running tomorrow. Never know. But first of all, the extender is on the call tonight, Brant. Scott Foster will be on the call tonight. So if there's one man that could extend the series for the Wolves, it would be that guy. So
yeah, it would be Scotty, not gonna lie. It would be up to Mr. F.
Now the other thing is I don't know if you've watched every Wolves game of the series or not.
I've been watching, not every second of every game, but I have been
watching. There has been a horrendous amount of no calls on the Mavs, like for the Wolves, or calls on the Wolves like that have not been reciprocated for the Mavs.
Now, are you saying the whole series?
I'm saying this whole series.
Okay. All right. I'm interested. What your reasoning behind it, but okay.
If you just watched the game, like the Wolves consistently will get called for driving or just any little ticky-tack form of contact, even if it's like not even pushing or anything. Like they just be standing there and like brush up against them and they'll get called for a foul. There's no reciprocation of that on the other side of the court. Like the Wolves will do the same. Like the Wolves will stand there and they'll be on defense, right? They'll do something, they'll get called a foul. But when the Wolves are on offense and the Mavs do the same exact thing or worse, it's not called. And like it's just amazing to me how influential those kinds of calls could be in a series like this. And I say that because, well, yes, the Wolves are at their own fault, right? They still lost the games. They could have done more to win those games.
Yeah, but at the same time, I'm about to call out who could do a lot more for
at the same time. At the same time, yeah, and Kat talking to you. But at the same time, there's been
Jaden McDaniels should not be leading the team in scoring ever in the first.
At the same time, there have been multiple times at the end of these games where the refs have come in. The first two games of the series, the refs determined the outcome of those games. Game one, it should have been 107-108 with 2 free throws to go to end the game. But the goaltending, whatever the fuck they called it on Cat to end that game, which, by the way, you got to let that play. You cannot call that in that moment. It was so it was not obvious where the ball was going. And on TV, like for me, I didn't think it was going to touch the rim at all. So you call that without an actual observable difference there. Like that one is an issue. And two, when you go into game two and to end the game when the Wolves are up and they replay I don't know what the call was. They called it went out of bounds and they called it Wolves ball. And then the Mavs challenged it. And on review, Kyrie blatantly fouled Jaden McDaniels while we were in the bonus. But instead of reviewing that part of the call and reviewing every aspect of what was going on, they only reviewed the ball going out of bounds and they gave it to the Mavs, even though there was a blatant foul occurring that Kyrie gave McDaniels, which probably would have put up the Wolves in an area where the lead would have been insurmountable with 40 seconds left. And on top of that,
I would say on top of that,
they also went back a day later and the NBA was like, yes, that actually was a foul. That was not called, but obviously it doesn't change the outcome of the game because the outcome already finished. And yesterday there wasn't something like that or 2 days ago, I guess at this point, the last game 3, right? There wasn't something as observable at the very end of the game, but the calls throughout the whole game were so unbelievably lopsided. Like there was like triple the amount of free throws for the Mavs than for the Wolves.
All right,
which makes a huge difference.
We'll take a pause right there on everything. Just wrapping up everything. So first, I'll start with game 3. Okay. When you were exaggerating the other day, being like they shot 3 times as many free throws. So in game 3, okay, T-Wolves had 24 total fouls as a team. Mavs had 19. Difference there, but free throw difference, you are correct. T-Wolves only had 17 free throws in game 3. The Mavs had 31. So overall, that should
not
be
triple, but about
seven more attempts to the free throw line. Sure. I will say though, game 2, I thought you might have had a theory here. You might have been on a sunny side, looked up fouls and free throws. Game 2 fouls. T-Wolves got charged with 19 fouls. The Mavs only was 17. But T-Wolves got 32 free throws. Mavs got 22. And then game 1, foul difference, 15 on the Mavs, 17 on the T-Wolves. But T-Wolves got 18 free throws. Mavs got 17. I was with you though. I was with you.
The free throw point was more for this past
game 3. I'm with you.
I hadn't noticed it in game 1 or 2. The problem I had with game 1 or 2 was the end of the game bullshit calls where like it was like fine-ish for the most part. And then when it got into the crunch time where like, you're a referee, you should back the fuck off and just let them play unless it's like blatant.
Yeah, I'm with that. Let the boys play. With that.
Like there was an observable favoritism towards the Mavs. And it's kind of been the case this whole series. In game 1 and game 2, especially, those calls, well, like I said, the Wolves could have played better. They could have won on their own. But when you have 2 calls that basically change the way that the outcome of the game is going to be in the last couple seconds, last minute, that's a problem. That's a big problem.
Yeah, fair. I will. This is kind of my quick little counter. So game 1, T-Wolves only lose by 3. Game 2, T-Wolves lose by 1. This would have been my solution for the T-Wolves to win that game. For game 1, if Karl Anthony-Towns didn't shoot fucking 6 for 20 from the field and 2 for 9 from 3, you guys probably win that game. Unfortunately, he did. Game 2, if Cat doesn't go 4 for fucking 16 from the field and 1 for 5 from 3, you guys probably pick up that game too. Unfortunately, he did that. And then game 3, Cat, if he didn't go 5 for 18 from the field, 0 for 8 from 3, you guys probably have a better shot of winning.
Here's the thing.
Everett, he is shooting 28% from the field this year, 13% from 3. 13% from 3, and he consistently shoots second or third most threes per game on this team.
I agree with you.
You're a bitch. Drive the ball. You're 7 foot. Why do you not have any go-to post moves? Why are you afraid of banging down low? Cat, you are soft, and you will never ever be a solid number 2 Robin to a superstar ever because you don't have that dog in you. You're a little cat up there in the head. Literally, it's in the name.
I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you in the fact that the Wolves could have played better. I agree with that. I think the Wolves could have played better. But my point is when it is you lose by 2 or 3, whatever. I don't remember what the game one score is, right? But you're losing by literally one possession. And that possession could have changed because of one call that the refs made at the very end of the game. Everything else plays out the same way. Every single thing plays out the same way, but you don't call that goaltending or whatever on Cat in game 1. And you call the foul on Kyrie in game 2, right? Those 2 things alone at the very end of both the games completely changed the outcome. In game 1, if you don't call that, it counts as a goal. Then Mike Conley goes to the line with 3 free throws at the end of the game, and they win, or they at least tie. You know, maybe they don't win if they tie, they go to overtime, they still lose, but at least it goes to overtime, right? And in game 2, the Wolves are already up. If you just call that foul like it should have been called, Jaden McDaniels goes to the line, increases the lead. The Wolves probably win that because there's only 40 seconds left. So it should be at least 1-2 or 2-1 right now with the Wolves. And that's horseshit that the refs have made such a decidable outcome at the very end of the games. Regardless of whether or not the Wolves have played good or bad, they've played pretty fucking shitty, if I do say so myself.
Yeah, I'd say, another thing that could help out is when you run pick and roll, defending Luka, maybe have Gobert go over the screen, defend Luka on the perimeter.
The point is, regardless of play or not, the Wolves were there. The Wolves were right there to win the game.
Yeah, kind of what I'm getting at more here is that
Jaden
McDaniels has been unreal in this series.
No, I agree.
You're getting great play out of Jaden, but damn, if only the superstars could, be superstars.
Yes,
right?
Cat should play better. Yes, Ant needs to play
Ant
better.
should too.
Yes, that's what I just said. Yes, Gobert has been playing dog shit on defense, right? He's getting picked apart. But even with all of that, the Wolves have been right there in these games. And if there's one call that shouldn't have been called in 2 different games, they're probably in the lead right now in the series. And, regardless of the outcome, regardless of the outcome tonight, whether the Wolves get swept or not, I think that there's still a bright future with the team that they currently have. They need some refinement, but there's still a good future there. And 2, there needs to be a review of the way that refs call the game in the playoffs, and especially at the end of the games. They should not be involved in the end of the games.
That last part you said, although it's definitely the most meaningful, that will never happen. But, it won't. I respect the attempt.
It should. And the general thing, though, is like the Wolves are right there. They could have won the games when playing shitty. And the reason they didn't, they played shitty. You could partially put on the refs making some bad calls. At least at the end of the game, when it matters the most. At the end, when it matters the most.
But I will say, though, T-Wolves, you guys step it up. Ant can't be shooting 38% from the field. Can't be doing that. Game 1, I don't know why Ant shot 12 threes and only 4 other field goals in the game. I'm just confused by the offense. What if there is a game plan on offense for the T-Wolves? I'm not sure if there
doesn't look like it.
But yeah, let's just say it's gonna be Celtics Mavs NBA Finals.
I hope it's still Celtics Wolves. You never know. History can be made.
Don't quote me on this. I don't think an NBA team has ever come back down.
That's why I said history can be made.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I think it's just Boston over New York.
It would be.
MLB. I think that's the only 3-0 comeback in a playoff series. 3-0.
It would be of Minnesota sports fandom to have your team tie at 3-3 and then lose.
I think that's happened before. I think that's happened recently.
It definitely has.
I think that happened the last 2 years. It was 3-0, went to 3-3, and then the team who came back just
I think that might have
destroyed in game 7.
Might have been Dame Portland.
I think that
feels like a Dame Portland,
or that may have been like the Miami Heat involved in that. I don't know why I feel that. I feel an Eastern Conference team being involved in that.
Okay. With that, though, thank you guys so much for watching, listening, rate us 5 stars. You can find us on Spotify, TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, and on Instagram at WaterboyPod. You can find me and Grant on Twitter at Everett and at WaterboyGrant. Post new episodes every Tuesday and Thursday, with some exceptions on YouTube and all podcast platforms. So make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss a single episode. We post on TikTok and on Instagram every week. So make sure that you guys follow us there for exclusive content. And we'll see you guys in tomorrow's episode when we have the rando-sode. So see you guys then. Waterboys out.